Hey guys, it's Michelle from Cozy Egg. Thank you for watching. If this is your first time here, thanks for checking me out. And if you're a returning viewer or subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. You can find me obviously on YouTube, on Flosstube, as Cozy Egg. You can also find me on Instagram, Twitter, Flickr, Pinterest, whatever, as Cozy Egg. And my blog is over at cozyeggg.cozyeggdesigns.com. So feel free to come on over there. And you can also sign up for my newsletter on my blog so you'll get notified of new posts. And I do actually do blog posts, written posts, not just videos. So anyway, so this is episode 18. And today is Saturday, September the 24th, 2016. So let's dive on in. I actually got up way early this morning. I got up at 6:30 so that I could go meet some friends of mine and go walking with them first thing this morning. So I met them at 7. We did a 3.5 mile walk. And so by 8 a.m., I had over 7,000 steps in. So I am trying very hard to get back on the fitness train and get back on my, healthy habits. So anyway, so I've been up since 6:30. Anyway, so let's start with finishes. So even though this is a whip, I'm also going to count it as a finish. This is in my laminate, my Tula Pink Birds and Bees bag, wooden button, perfect for fall. And so, I talked last time about the Village of Hawk Run Hollow Sal that I wanted to jump in on, and Abby Bella Stitch and I decided to, kind of get this train going. And so she had originally set up a group or an event in Cross Stitch Finish Line. But since Facebook has changed their settings, you can't have an event that lasts like longer than 2 weeks or something. And we wanted to open it up to folks that didn't necessarily want to stitch on Village, that maybe they wanted to work on houses or shores or autumn or whichever of the other Hawk Run Hollow projects. So there is now a group for this stitch along on Facebook, and it's called Let's All Move to Hawk Run Hollow, which is courtesy of Melissa Gulf Sky. She actually used that hashtag on one of her Instagram videos or photos, and it made me laugh, so I commandeered it. So we've now taken it for our group name. So Let's All Move to Hawk Run Hollow. Feel free to join and come in there and share your progress and all that good stuff. So and then also on Instagram, you can either use the hashtag that Emily Eclectic Possessions or Tattooed Stitcher set up originally for the Sal that started last fall, which is HRH Village Sal, or you can use the new hashtag Let's All Move to Hawk Run Hollow. So either one. So anyway, so I started this on the 1st, and you saw it while it was in progress, and I finished it up on the 11th. So I'm really happy with how it came out. I'm using the DMC on 36 count light vintage exemplar. I did do the background of this in 1/1 tent stitch, and then the rest of it is 1/2. So I typically, on anything higher than 32 count, I use 1 strand of thread. I don't always love the coverage of it on 36 count, which is why I tend to not use 36 count. I prefer to use 40 because the coverage is much better with one strand. So anyway, I love this little snake. He makes me so happy with his little French knot eyes and the little goldfish cracker fish. So anyway, that's my finish on that. And then I put this away to get back out in on the 1st of the month. At least that was my original plan. Here's the pattern, Village of Hawk Run Hollow, Carriage House Samplings, and this is of course Carriage House Samplings when it was Kathy Barrick. It is now her sister who does the designing under Carriage House Samplings name. So the newer ones like the Farms of Hawk Run Hollow and Map, those are all her sisters. So, and I have my DMC bobbinated. Really, we're gonna fight right here. Pardon me. I have all of my thread, my DMC bobbinated, and I've got them on this ring, but this business drives me insane. So I'm really thinking that I might get one of those little, boxes. Like I have my DMC in those big boxes, but I think I might get a smaller one to put just the threads for this piece in here. And I did only pull the threads for block 1, so this is only for block 1. Oh, and I should tell you, so I did actually change one of the colors. So I just realized as I was looking here, but so anyway, I may get a little box to put these in here like I've seen people do with their memorabilias, because all of that loose, thread coming unwound from the bobbin is making me nuts. So the stream. The color thread that it calls for is 502, which is really green. And I thought that maybe once you got it up against the green for the grass, maybe it would look a little more blue. Didn't. So I pulled the NPI, the silk that it's actually called for, to see if there was a difference between the DMC and the NPI, and I would just use the NPI if it was a little bit bluer, and it was not. I mean, those two colors were exactly the same. So if you're concerned about an NPI to DMC conversion, let me assure you. And so I think the NPI is like 155A. So what I did was I pulled another NPI that is close. So this is 152. And you can see, I know it's in the bag, but you can see that it is bluer. The light is not great, but it is bluer. But it still has, it's not that bright blue. It's still within the same tone as the original. So this is actually what I used to stitch my my river. I had pulled some other DMCs, but they were all way too blue, way too bright. And this was actually the closest one that I thought I might use, because it has that same kind of, muted tone to it, unlike, some of these others. So I was going to use this one, but I ended up using that NPI instead, I think. So anyway, so that's a whip and also block 1 finish. So, and I really wish that this fit better, but it doesn't. Okay, and then my other finish, I actually had 2 more finishes, and I have like a hot mess over here. I just have like piles of crap. So, anyway. So I finished that up on the 11th, and, you know, I had a few days. So let me back up. And I apologize, I have actually recorded this twice because the first time things happened. So this is my second time around. As I was working on Hawk Run Hollow, I got to thinking about Emily, Eclectic Possessions. I got to thinking about her Stitch Mania video where she talked about, you know, she had scheduled her starts so that on the 13th of that month, which I think may have been a Friday the 13th, but on the 13th of that month, she wanted to stitch something that was kind of dark and creepy. And she mentioned, just sort of in passing, that she might do that every month and do kind of a work on something dark and creepy on the 13th of every month. So I got to thinking about that, and you know, I love the dark and creepy. So I messaged her and said, you know, what do you think about doing this? Are you up for it? Because I am thinking I want to do it for September. And she said, yes, absolutely. Let's do it. So, you know, I finished Hawk Run, that block one on the 11th. So I had a couple of days to sort of think about what I was going to work on. And so I actually figured out that, oh yeah, I had signed up for this Halloween ornament exchange at Guild. Maybe I should stitch something for that and get it done. So I decided to stitch, this is a freebie from Lisa from the Primitive Needle. And this was actually a piece that she was giving out as a freebie at market the year that I went to market and got to meet her in person and hang out for a little bit. And she had actually finished this into a necklace with the tin, the rectangular tin deal. Let me actually, hang on, let me see if I can find my, yes. Okay. So she had actually finished this as a necklace using this rectangular tin necklace. And so that was actually my intention, is, you know, to stitch this for myself at some point and put it in a necklace. I actually originally stitched this for a friend of mine for her birthday, like in 2010, so it's been forever, and I have just never gotten around to stitching one for me. And I still haven't stitched one for me. But anyway, so on the 13th, I decided to pick up this little freebie and stitch on it. So this is Wicked, and it is a freebie from the Primitive Needle, and it is all stitched. This is on 30 count, and this is all 1/1. So it's teeny tiny. You can see how small that is. But I just love it. It's so fun. It's a quick little piece. You know, I think it took me 2 or 3 nights. I don't know, it was probably more than that because it's the 13th, and I think I finished it on the 17th when I was up at 4:30 in the morning for work. But it is, so this is, I used 30 count antique cotton by R&R Fabrics, and it calls for 4 Belle Soie colors. So it calls for Teddy Bear, which is this kind of warm brown color. It calls for Noir, Lasagna, and Attic Tea. So 4 colors, silks, 30 count. You can use any kind of linen. I just happened to pick up the R&R. So, and again, this is a freebie. If you are interested in the freebie, shoot me a note, leave me a comment, send me your email address, and I am more than happy to send you a scan of the freebie. Because honestly, it makes me so happy to see people stitching her pieces. And I wish that they were not going for exorbitant amounts. But it makes me so happy to see her pieces. And this is not a freebie that I've seen a lot of people stitch, but it's just fabulous, as you can see. I just love it. So if you're interested, shoot me a note and I will be happy to send you the freebie. So I finished that, and I'm not entirely sure how I'm going to finish it. Like I said, I was kind of doing it for the, I did it for the ornament exchange at Guild, and I don't know what I did with them. Anyway, so I'm gonna somehow finish this into an ornament and good to go. And yes, I do have a Ziploc bag inside of my nice bag because that's how we roll. Really, I don't have this? Yes, I do. They're in my pocket. So I went and I got some seed beads, and these are actually a matte black, and so I thought I might do some sort of a little beaded hanger, maybe some sort of a little, you know, something down at the bottom, like little fringy something. Anyway, so I think that's what I'm gonna do. Maybe I should put these in with the piece before I lose them. Okay, so I had that finished, and then I decided I should switch gears because I went and stitched with a couple friends of mine, and they were also working on, for our guild, we are putting together a like a raffle piece, and we decided to do these little Christmas tree ornaments. Like they're trees. Not, anyway. And so the lady that's organizing it had, you know, given out, you know, one to several people, and we're going to stitch them and then I think finish them on a wreath. So the 2 ladies that I went to stitch with the other day, they had both finished theirs, and I was like, crap, I haven't even started on mine. So I decided maybe I should probably work on that. So this is, it's called Heart Tree, and there's like a whole set of them from JBW Designs, and they are stitched with, this one is stitched with Bullfrog and Garnet, which I believe are Weeks colors, overdyes. And this fabric is not my favorite because, yeah, anyway, but so that you can get the gist of it. And maybe if I show you the front of it instead of the back of it. So, little heart tree. There's a little heart charm that goes way up at the top that she's going to put on. But this stitched up super quick. I think I did it in an evening. So anyway, so I went from Halloween to Christmas, and then I will bring this back at Guild on Tuesday and then she will, once she gets all of them, she will do some sort of fabulous finishing with them. Okay, so that's it for finishes. And so then I wanted to, I talked last time about framing, so I wanted to share a couple more framed pieces. And several people asked me if I could sort of explain how I frame. I think there are probably tutorials online about how to frame needlework yourself. At one point, Vonna had a tutorial, the Twisted Stitcher had a tutorial about, how to do your own framing. But when I went to look for it, it's no longer there. So I assume she deleted it at some point. I'm not sure why, but at one point she did have one. So basically what I did for mine, there's two different ways you can stretch your framing. And let me just throw this out here. Do not use one of those mounting foam core boards that is sticky. Just don't. Because you are just asking for trouble. As I have heard someone mention previously, it's like, candy for bugs. You do not want that anywhere near your needlework, so please don't use that. Save yourself the trouble. Don't use it. So there's a couple of ways to mount and stretch your framing. So I did take a piece of foam core, which is, like that thick poster board that's got, foam in between, that stuff. It's like a 1/4 inch thick. You can pin your piece or you can lace your piece, or I guess technically you could do both. So I have always laced my pieces, and basically what that means is, you are stretching your piece over that foam core, wrapping it around that foam core, and then you are taking thread of some sort and you are joining, the two ends and the two sides together so that it looks, kind of like a corset, so that it's laced together and it's pulled tight, so that you don't have any wrinkles or, warping or, whatever. I find that lacing is a little more forgiving, because once you've got it laced, you can still kind of oonch your piece around a little bit if it's not quite center, or if it's, a little bit high on one side. You can kind of oonch it around to where you get it exactly where you want it. And then once you're done with that, you slap that puppy in a frame and put a back on it. And if you have a frame that the back won't, doesn't really fit anymore, once you've got your piece in there with the glass, whatever, you can take the glass out. And I will show you a piece here in a minute that does not have glass on it. And if you decide that you want to frame without glass, a lot of times framers will put like a piece of batting, quilt batting in there, thin quilt batting, that puffs it up a little bit so that, so that it almost looks like it's three-dimensional. Not a ton, but a little bit. But you certainly don't have to do that. The thing that you want to be aware of with the foam core is that if you have, for example, a piece of fabric, again with the Ziploc, if you have a piece of fabric like this that is very loosely woven, that foam core is shiny, and so you may want to put a piece of muslin or a piece of white fabric behind your piece so that you're not seeing that shiny surface. And if it's a dark piece of fabric, you can certainly put a layer of dark fabric underneath there if you want, so that you don't have white showing through. So you can, like I said, you can lace your fabric. The other way is to pin your piece. And the easy way to make sure that your piece is completely, straight is you figure out, how far out you're going to go from your piece, like how much of an edge you're going to leave. And then you can pull a thread. And that will give you, a straight line to follow. So you can just go in there, you can snip one of your threads, either a vertical or a horizontal. Be very sure that you know where you're cutting before you do this. And you pull that thread. And so it gives you can see, that line of where it's in, where your edges are, so that you can pin to that. And when you're pinning, you can be very precise because you can follow your thread line so that you're keeping everything straight. Now, for the pieces that I have been framing, I did not want to pull a thread because my pieces are not necessarily going to stay in these frames forever, because one of these days when I win the lottery, I may decide to have them all professionally framed, and I didn't want to commit to pulling a thread out to do that. So I didn't do that. So I tried to, as best I could, follow, a thread. Pinning is a little less forgiving because if it's off, you got to take all those pins back out. And the pins that I use are silk pins, which are very thin pins. But because you're going around that foam core, you can slide those pins right into that foam and it works really easily. And then if you're, like I said, if your backing doesn't fit anymore, you can just tape that puppy down. Easy peasy. So, a couple little framing pieces. So this one I actually framed this morning. When I went to get those beads for Wicked, I went to Michael's. And I just kind of, glanced at the frames. And this is a piece that I've wanted to frame for forever. And I've just never found the right frame for it. Because most of the time those little frames are, rectangular. They're not square. And I needed a square frame for this piece. And they actually had, a couple different versions. They had like a black one, and then they had a wood, stained wood color. So I got this and framed this little piece up, and I'm thrilled with it because I love this little piece. It's a, it's a very primitive piece, as you can see, and I love it. And it's got little French knots for the little flowers, and it's got a little brass dove charm. And the, where you backstitch, where it says arc, it's intended to be really primitive looking. So this piece is called A Little Bitty Arc. It's by Homespun Elegance. And I stitched this with DMC on some random 28 count linen. I have no idea what it is. And I finished this in 2001. So this is an old piece, but I'm so happy to finally have it framed. And it does still have this thing on here, but I think I'm going to take this off, and I just put a little hanger on here. So, and I don't have that as tight as it needs to be because it's still moving. But anyway, I'm thrilled with this. I'm so happy to finally have this framed because I love this little piece. So I framed that this morning. And then I also got this framed. And if you saw on my Instagram, I have started a gallery wall on the stairs of my stitched pieces. So I'm thrilled to have some of my pieces up. So I did get this framed. Ooh, that color is just horrendous. This is really gray. So that color is just not showing up well. I wonder if I do it this way. No, then you can just see the outside. anyway, okay, so this is Rampant Cats. You'll remember I showed this to you before. And this frame is way too big for this piece, but it was too big to put in an 8.5 by 11 or an 8 by 10 or whatever that frame size is. 8 by 10, I guess. 8.5 by 11 is paper. It was too big to fit in that. So, you know, I didn't want to cut off anything, you know, by framing it so super close. So I got it framed, and I think it looks good. And it's hanging up by my Garden of Erie. And oh my God, I love this snake. He's so awesome. And in case you haven't figured this out yet, part of the reason that I love Adam and Eve designs is because of the snakes. Don't tell anybody. Okay, so that was Rampant Cats. And then this other piece, this has been framed for a long time. I did this myself. And this piece has a lot of history, so I wanted to share it with you. This is Quaker Garden, Blackbird Designs. And it is stitched on the called for 30 count Garden State Java by R&R. And it's stitched with the called for Weeks and Gentle Arts sampler threads, so gas. God, this color is just horrendous. One of these days there, that's better. One of these days I'll have better lighting. That's better. So it's a really pretty green, and that white really pops on there. So this piece I framed without glass. And I did put a thin piece of batting in here, quilt batting in here. And so you can see it's got a little bit of, you know, you can see like where it goes into the frame. It's puffed up just a tiny bit. And it used to be that this was kind of all the rage of how you framed things. And I wouldn't necessarily do it this way today, obviously, but it's in a frame, so can't complain. This piece is the reason that I started blogging 10 years ago. Because a wonderful stitcher named Karen V, who sadly had the best blog, but sadly it no longer exists. But every so often you see one of her pieces pop up on Pinterest. And one of her pieces that she stitched, that she did where it was like a, you know, it was a row, a band sampler basically. And she took several different pieces that she absolutely loved and combined them into one big piece. And so, like, you know, the top of it had, you know, it had like an angel from some pattern, and then it had some little houses from another pattern. And anyway, so it had that kind of band look to it. And Lisa from Primitive Needle loved it so much, she just thought it was fabulous. And so, you know, she talked to Karen, asked her, you know, if she could kind of use her idea. And that's how Witch's Hollow was born, because it's got that same shape to it. It's, you know, a band sampler like that. It's got that piece up at the top. So anyway, it's sad that Karen V is no longer around blogging anymore. I've yet to, you know, see if I could find her on Instagram or Pinterest or anything like that, but she started a sal for this piece, and it was all bloggers that were joining, you know, the sal, and at the time I didn't have a blog, so I started one so that I could join in the sal for this piece, and I loved stitching it. it was the very first piece that I got to put my married last name initial on it. Because it started in June. I started my blog in June. We had gotten married in April of that year. So this is a very important piece to me. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you. This is a store-bought frame. I framed it myself, and I think it looks pretty good. So that goes up on the wall as well. Okay, so that was, and I have more stuff to frame, so I'll show that, you know, I'll try to do some each time so you can see it. Okay, so whips, and let's see what I got. What have I been working on? I've been working on Anniversaries of the Heart, which I'm sure you guys are so sick of seeing, but let me move this. Okay, so here's where I am. So since you last saw it, I got the house all stitched and filled in. I got both of the swans done, and they, as of last night, they now have eyes. And then I've started on this bottom border. So this is the bottom of the block. And so then once I get this done, then all that's left are some little, you know, scattered motifs and then the personalization. So I'm looking forward to that. I actually switched out my needle minder for a stronger magnet because I saw somebody do this and I thought that is brilliant. So I took my working copy of the pattern and I just, you know, put that under my needle minder right here so that my chart's right here, I'm working down here, and I can just look, stitch, 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 as opposed to having to stop and pick up my pattern and look at it and put it down and pick it up and put it down. So I think it's actually very helpful to do that. So, but I had to have a little bit stronger magnet in order to do that. And of course I have it with the pattern up, but I wasn't going to show you that. So it's coming along. Maybe one of these days I will actually finish that block and move on to the next block. Maybe. We'll see. So that's pretty much all that I've been working on. You've already seen Village. So the next thing I wanted to share. So when Emily and I got to talking about doing our stitching on the 13th, which by the way, the hashtag that we're using is dark 13 stitching. So if you want to join on the 13th of every month, feel free. Get out those creepy, dark pieces that she and I love so much and stitch on them. So when we were talking about that, then we sort of started thinking, you know, she was like, I think I may do this all month in October, like have a whole month of dark stitching. And I was like, okay, I'm down with that. Obviously I won't get much done on my Hawk Run Hollow block if I do dark stitching. But, you know, I just had a little thought. If I could count down to it, I could do that block that's got the gravestones way down at the bottom, block 12. I'll have to think about that. So once we started talking about doing dark October stitching, I was like, okay, what do I want to work on? Well, obviously, I will probably work on my Blackened Sky, which of course you've seen, but I will do just a quickie look-see Blackened sky. Sure wish you could see the right color. One of these days I'll have correct lighting. Doubtful. I had pretty good lighting when I started, but it's like pouring down rain now. So it got really dark outside, so we're stuck with the rest of my bad lighting. So then I was like, okay, what else am I going to stitch on? I could stitch on Blackened Sky, but what else do I want to do? So I started pulling out like all of the random, you know, Halloween, dark, whatever pieces that I have. And I haven't totally decided what I wanted to work on, but I just thought I'd kind of share some of the ones that I pulled out. So I pulled this out that I've had since the freaking thing came out, which was like 8 million years ago. I actually had all of the fairies, but I sold most of them. The only one that I have left is Halloween Fairy. And I think Emily just dyed some fabric for hers, which is going to be fantastic. So I may work on this. I don't know yet. Maybe not. We'll see. And then I pulled out this piece. This was a online class that was done by Bright Needle through Elegant Stitch. And I tried like 3 times to get in this class, and I was finally able to get in. And, you know, for all of that hassle, I haven't put a single flippin' stitch into it. This is called Ghosties and Ghoulies. And there's a whole lot of glare. So it's a little, like sewing case. Let me see if I can crinkle, 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 crinkle. Let's see if I can take these pictures out. So on, yeah, so one side has this with that awesome witch's hat house. I mean, come on. And this crazy ass weird lizard dude. And Bright Needle, I mean, pretty much all their pieces are 1/1. So of course this is teeny tiny. And then on the back side of it, so it's like creepy on one side, sweet on the other. And it's just the cutest little piece. So I've had this, like I said, forever. And fabric, threads, and it's even got the finishing fabric in here and the little ribbon and the whole 9 yards. And here it sits. Whatever. So maybe I'll start on my Ghosties and Ghoulies. And then I thought, how awesome is this? How awesome is that? And you may notice this. Do you remember me telling you about Scissor Jail? That, you know, when I was working on my John Reed sampler, that's the memorial sampler for my dad, I just had my scissors just in that bag with my piece, and it poked a big old hole in my fabric, like a big old hole. So I decided that from then on, scissors have to be in Scissor Jail. So Sylvia made Scissor Jail and some needle minders. And then on the inside, it's got all the good stuff. It has my spooky scissors with my spooky scissor fob that has the little spider and spider web on it. So fun. scissor jail. Of course, those scissors don't cut worth a damn, so they don't really need to be in scissor jail, but whatever. So in this bag, which as you can tell is my Halloween appropriate bag, there's this piece, which again, kit, had to have it, haven't put a stitch in it. This is by Dimple Designs, and this is called Mini Jewel Scarabs. And I am so freaking in love with this piece. It's all, you know, like 1/1, itty bitty tiny jeweled scarabs. How awesome is that? And I'm not going to take it all out, but threads. It's got all of these, you know, metallics. It's got the fabric. I think these are all Krynics. It's a whole lot of threads for but oh my god, I'm so in love with this. So this is like at the top of my list to work on. But again, like I said, at this point, everything's kind of a maybe. And then I thought, well, I could, you know, work on a Wicked for me. But I just stitched it, so I don't know that I want to anymore. So then I have this piece that Lisa Primitive Needle released at One Market, and it's called Halloween Garden, and it's so cute. It's just a little sweet little piece, and so it came with the pattern, and in this little bag came with the fabric. And so I actually have a couple of stitches in here already. That is not the right color. You'll just have to kind of guess at the color, because that's closer. I love this piece, and so a friend of mine has this tendency to, she won't start a piece, like she's not even going to call it starting a piece, but she'll put a few stitches in just to see how it's going to look on her fabric. And I have nicknamed that Just the Tip. I'm not going to elaborate on that at all. And I apologize if I've just offended you, but so this was my attempt at Just the Tip. Just wanted a little start. So I may work on that. And the threads that it calls for are all weeks. And I think I have them all on this ring with this fantastic wooden piece my friend Kim gave me years ago. I love this. So fun. Yeah, so I've got all the threads in there. So maybe I'll work on that for dark October stitching. And what else do I have in this little goodie bag? So I also have this piece that was a Stacy Nash club piece from Country Sampler in Spring Green, Wisconsin. I don't know if you can get this now, but as like a separate pattern, but this was one of the club pieces for the year that I was in their little group, you know, club, and I think we got 4 designs. But I just love this one. I love the key. And so it came with the pattern, the DMC, the raw linen to stitch on, and then the 2 finishing pieces. And if I'm not mistaken, I think that this gets finished into a little pillow that has like a place on the back where you can put your scissors, maybe. Is there a photo of that? Oh yeah, so this black, so this is your backing fabric, this little ticking stripe, and then this is black wool, and you are supposed to cut, oh, there's a picture, perfect. You cut a little heart to use as a little needle holder. So I don't know if I would finish this into a pillow or not, maybe, who knows, but anyway, it's a very sweet little piece, and it's been laying around here for a long time too. So it may be time to get that out and work on that. I mean, and it's a, you know, I mean, you can see it's a relatively small piece, so it's not a huge time investment. I've been so good all year working on whips that now I'm kind of like, oh, I want to start all the things, as Abby says. So anyway, so I might work on that piece. I might do something out of this book, which has some super cute stocking designs. I'm just going to kind of flip through here really quick. Miss Mary Mac. This is a freebie with some bats. Sampler Cove Thriller, which I love. Look at the verse on that. Moonlight casts an eerie glow, in shadows terror hides. Searching for the haunted souls, on wicked wings she rides. And this is all done in black and red. I don't know if you can tell that, but it's all black and red, and I love this piece. Raven's Roost, Curse of the Raven. This little piece that I actually have a piece of fabric for it that oh, I don't have it in here, which is surprising because it has lived in here for forever, but I have a like a golden piece of fabric that I just love. Oh, this piece. So this is a copy from the magazine. This is a working copy because I didn't want to put the whole magazine in here, but this Sperry I love. And I've had this piece of fabric hoarded with thought of putting her on here. This is Silk Weaver Phantom, and it's a 32 count. I think Carol from Garden of Stitches, maybe, I think she may have stitched hers on Phantom. And I, at one point, was going to sell this, and then when I saw her finish, I was like, nope, gonna stay. So, and this is done in all pretty kind of chocolatey browns and rusty oranges. Jack's Bash. This one I always think is, you know, kind of eerie. Moon Garden. And I have the fabric for that excuse me, somewhere. Oh, and then there's this is another freebie. This is called A Dark Garden, that was actually done in memory of Lisa Primitive Needle. And so it's an entire, you know, alphabet sampler done with creepy things like Z is for zombies, M is for mummy, that sort of thing. So I thought maybe I can work on that. So anyway, I have tons of choices. Obviously, I'm not going to work on all of these things, but it was kind of fun to go through everything and think about it. Oh, and I don't think I have it in here. The Stacy Nash piece, Halloween at Hollyberry Farm, something like that, which I just love and really want to stitch. So that Thriller piece, a blogging friend of mine stitched that years ago, and then I went on this hunt for that piece, because even then Sampler Cove patterns were not super popular and they were a little hard to come by. So anyway, so tons of things for Dark October stitching. So if you want to join, that's the hashtag Dark October Stitching. If you want to join in just on the 13th of every month, Dark 13 Stitching, feel free. Love to have you. And let's see what else I got here. Like I said, I have sort of this hot mess 12 pile thing going on. While we're still talking Dark October, this came in the mail for me. This was actually part of my birthday gift, belated, from my friend Kim. And I've been coveting this. Every time I see somebody with it, I want it. So this is my very first needle knack. I'm sure it will not be my last. I love this thing. I love it. So I can't wait to use it on one of my pieces. Fun. And then really the only other stash enhancement I have is not super exciting, but my Just Cross Stitch ornament thing came in the mail. Not a ton. You know, Prairie Schooler had this one that was kind of a surprise. It's okay. I find that every year I find less and less of these that I am excited about. There's this one from Frosted Pumpkin that's kind of cute. You know, but again, at least it came with my subscription, so. Okay, and then that's it for stash enhancement. There's nothing else. And then reading, I finished reading The Raven Boys, which was really good. It was due back at the library, and I had not been keeping up with my reading, and so I had to read the whole thing in 2 days. But it was really good. I'm just a slacker. So then I checked out the next book in the series, The Dream Thieves, Maggie Stiefvater, and so far I'm enjoying this, but I'm not making very good progress on it at all, so I need to get a move on so that I don't have to do a crazy marathon reading session again. So I've talked for an hour yet again, but as you could see, I had tons of things to show you. So I hope that was all interesting, and and you got something out of it, I wish I could show you Tut. He's like right here on the table. And I made him a little pallet to lay on because he's spoiled, and because that way he's not traipsing back and forth across the video like he normally does. But anyway, he looks very sweet. So it's raining. I've been up way too long. I think it is the perfect afternoon to sit on the couch and get a case of Stitch as my friend Siobhan says. So that's my plan for this afternoon. So I'm probably going to work on Anniversaries of the Heart some more, see if I can get that bottom border done, and get that one off my plate. So I think that's it. But thanks so much for tuning in. And again, if you want to find me anywhere, I'm usually under Cozy Egg, Pinterest, Flickr, Instagram, Twitter, all the places, Ravelry. And I am planning on doing some holiday appropriate knitting in October. I think I'm going to start my next shawl because I'm kind of missing my knitting. So, and the yarn that I have is like perfect for it. So I may start that on the 1st. We'll see. So anyway, that's it. You can find me on YouTube. Love comments, love thumbs up, love, subscribing, whatever. I always appreciate it. And if you want to check out my blog, it's at cozyeggdesigns.com. Thanks so much for joining. I appreciate it. And have a great rest of your September. I will probably be in the thick of dark October stitching the next time I talk to you. Bye.